Before we enter 2023, I was Googling and I was trying to see what people are saying, what the news are saying in terms of the way they forecast or predict 2023. I don't know if you are interested. Are you guys interested in hearing some of the prediction that they say about 2023? Yeah? Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, according to Time.com, this is political prediction forecasting. In 2023, Russia is going to feel cornered. When they feel pressured and cornered, I'm talking about Russia, this is very concerning. It poses a danger for the country in Europe and for us, the US, or the United States of America. And then also still from Time.com, the anti-government protests in Iran, it's going on right now. Now, from the outside looking in, it looks like it's a good thing when they're protesting against the government in Iran. But at the same time, Iran also escalated its nuclear program with the possibility of Iran supplying nuclear weapon to Russia. So that's in the area of politics in terms of 2023. What about global warming? We're interested in global warming, right? 2023, as you know, we started off, especially us in the East Coast, when we started the new year, it was a very unusual warm weather, right? It doesn't feel like winter. It didn't feel like winter, right? That's because, global warming causes, it's hard to predict. It's just very unpredictable in terms of the weather and temperature. What it means is also hurricanes, tsunamis, severe storm are also accelerated, whatever that means. According to Reuters, in terms of the global health, COVID will continue to disrupt global healthcare because variation of coronavirus will continue to emerge. Right? Do you want me to continue? According to the Wall Street Journal, now this is we all interested in this, of course, in the news of economy. 2023 is going to be the most anticipated recession of all times. In other words, we can kind of see it from afar last year that 2023 is going to be bad in terms of the economy, right? From Wall Street Journal, it says that most of the economists from major financial institutions says that the U.S. will have a downturn in economy in 2023. Should I continue? According to Yahoo Finance, layoffs are sweeping corporate America. Amazon, as you probably heard, expected to lay off more than 18,000 of its workers, right? Mass layoff will happen in the tech world. Now, some of you know, right, we think that tech world, as long as you go to school for IT, this is like a safe place for us. It's guaranteed making a lot of money. But there's also a mass layoff in the tech world, right? Now, this is what you and me are very interested in. According to Fortune.com in the area of personal finance, right? And the latest TransUnion report, credit card delinquency or people who are unable to pay their credit card balance is expected to rise because of the inflation. Well, Happy New Year, everyone. How many of you are excited for 2023? Aren't you glad that you're coming to church this morning, right? Well, today we are starting a message series that we call The Best Is Yet to Come. I truly believe this, guys. I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't know where does this come from. I believe it's from the Lord. I felt led to tell you this, that your best days are ahead of you. Your best days before you, not behind you. Now, some of you might be very skeptical and you say, Sam, after you mention all of those things, I don't know how you say that this year is going to be better than last year. I don't know how you said that my best days still before me, not behind me. I mean, you just read us all of these things that's going to happen next year, right? Well, on top of those global news, I mean, Sam, if you look at my life, I mean, come on, my life is just a mess, man. It's upside down. My relationship, my finance, my career, everything is just a mess, right? How can you believe that things will get better? Well, first thing first, so let me just say this, just in case if you're going to You're going to have to leave early, or you're going to decide to tune me out, and you're going to decide to play with your phone for the rest of the message. But let me just say this. One thing that can really help is stop watching the news so much, right? That thing can really, really help, We don't realize that our news consumption is affecting us emotionally, mentally. This is why so many of us struggling with emotional health and mental health is because, again, we don't watch what we see. We don't watch what we consume in terms of the news. I found this out, guys, that there's this university in Canada, McGill University. They did a research, and from that research, they concluded that us, human beings, are more responsive. We respond quicker to negative news, right? When we hear words like baby, smile, fun, something positive, we are not that responsive. But when we hear the word like bomb, cancer, war, human beings are very responsive, right? We are drawn into the negative news. And this is why the news company and all of those people, they study us, and they know that if they put a negative headline, it will make you watch it, it will make you read it, and it will make you click it. Right? So that's the first thing that we got to do. We got to watch our news consumption, right? And this is a good time, I think. Tomorrow we're going to enter some 21 days prayer and fasting. For some of you, you got to stop. Maybe you can do the fasting on watching or reading the news. I just want to guarantee you that, if you don't watch news for 21 days, the world is still going to be here. You are still going to be okay. Right? Nothing's going to happen to you if you don't keep up with the news, right? Everything's going to be okay. So go back to what we're going to be talking about today. We are starting this series. So each and every week during this series, we're going to talk about something that can help you and me to make 2023 a better year compared to our previous years. Now, today for the first part, I want to share with you this, right? If you want 2023 to be a better year for you compared to the previous years, this is what we're going to be talking about. We have to learn, you ready? We have to learn to put our faith in God. Oh, Sam. I thought you were going to say something brilliant, right? I thought you were going to say something sophisticated. I was about to post it online, right? But to have faith in God, that's what a preacher is supposed to say. That's what a typical preacher will, have faith in God. What does it mean to have faith in God? I'm glad you asked, but we're going to talk about this. Again, if you want 2023 to be your best year, or even to be a better year compared to your previous year, we have to learn to put our faith in God, right? I know it sounds simplistic, but let's talk about this. There's this story that I want to take you to. This story you can find in the Gospel of Mark. Now, somebody help me out here. We have 4 gospels. Help me out here. We have the Gospel of Matthew, Mark, John, and Luke, right? I like to say the gospel is the biography of Jesus, right? It tells us the story, the life of Jesus while he was walking on this planet Earth. God become human and walk on this planet Earth. And we have 4 gospels. We have 4 different authors telling us about the life of Jesus. Now, Mark, I want to tell you a little bit of background about the Gospel of Mark. Now, Mark is the shortest gospel compared to the other 3. Mark is the earliest gospel. It was written first compared to the other 3 gospels. Now, this is very important, right? The Gospel of Mark, according to some scholar, it's written around 50 to 55 AD. Now, why is this so important? If Jesus resurrected from the dead, if the resurrection happened on 33 AD, that means the Gospel of Mark is written 20 years, less than 20 years after the resurrection. Now, the reason this is very important is because some of us think that the gospel is just a fairy tale. It's just some urban legend, right? But here's the thing. Fairy tale and urban legend usually develop 150 years after the actual event happened. Do you know why? Because after 150 years after the actual event happened, then all the people who are involved, all the eyewitnesses have died. So nobody can cross-check the story whether it's true or not. But if it's less than 20 years after the resurrection, then you can always cross the story. You can cross-check the story, you see, and the eyewitness is still alive, right? You can ask them questions. So that's how amazing our gospel is. It's so early, just in case if your friend asks. Just in case if you start doubting that your Bible is a bunch of fairy tale. And that's very important. Another thing that is very important, some of your friends who are maybe against Christianity, they probably ask, right? Hey, some of these Jesus disciples, they are uneducated. They are low educated men, right? They cannot write, right? Back then, people who are able to write, it's just a few of them. Well, the Gospel of Mark, according to the scholar, Mark got the first-hand information from someone named Peter. Peter is one of Jesus' closest disciples. He went everywhere Jesus went. He heard what Jesus teach. He saw what Jesus did, what Jesus performed, the miracle and all of those things, right? So in other words, it is very common practice for someone back then who dictated the story and then someone else write the story. I just feel very important for me to give you that context again so that, your faith in Jesus, your faith in Christianity is such an amazing faith because, again, everything you can prove it. You can give a reason to all of that objection. Now, the particular story that I want to take you today, in the Gospel of Mark, some of you are familiar with this story, but one day, Jesus, he has been ministering all day, he's been teaching all day, and then later that day, in the afternoon, this is what they were doing, right? So I want to read you, it's on Mark chapter 4, verse 35. It said, as evening came, Jesus said to his disciple, let's cross to the other side of the lake. So Jesus and the disciple been ministering all day, been teaching all day, and then they decided to go across the lake, right? So they took Jesus in a boat and started out, leaving the crowd behind, although other boats followed. But soon a fierce storm came up. High waves were breaking into the boat, and it began to fill with water. So, Jesus and his disciples were on the boat, and they were ready to go across the lake, and this is the lake, it's the Sea of Galilee, to be exactly. Now, I'm going to tell you something that is very important. The geographic location of the Sea of Galilee is actually 700 feet below the sea level, and it's surrounded by highlands, hills, and mountains. So, because of that geographic location, wind can come all of a sudden, right? You can see the night is clear. It has this clear sky in 1 minute. And then the next minute you will see storm and you will see wind, right? So it's very common for that to happen. And this is what happened to Jesus and his disciples, right? A windstorm coming out of nowhere, right? And in the middle of the storm, in the middle of chaos, the disciple of Jesus saw a very unusual sight. What is that unusual sight? In the middle of chaos, in the middle of storm, Jesus was sleeping at the back of the boat with his head on a cushion. In the middle of chaos and storm, Jesus catching some Z's, right? I mean, he had pillow too. Come on. So the disciple woke him up and shouting, "Teacher, don't you care that we are going to drown?" They woke up Jesus and said, "Jesus, don't you care about us? We are about to die. The storm is so big." Now, how many of you have experienced this, right? The storm coming to your life. I mean, you pray and you pray and you pray and you don't hear anything. Is God sleeping? I mean, you have a decision to make. You have a guidance. You need his guidance, right? And you ask God, but God is silent. Is he sleeping? And then the way we responded a lot of times is very similar to the disciples, the way the disciple responded, right? He said, God, don't you care about us? God, don't you care about my family? God, don't you care about my marriage? Don't you care about my children? Don't you care about my career, my finance? The other thing that I noticed from this event is this. The storm that they faced, they must have been really big. Because keep this in mind, out of the 12 disciples, there are 2 of them who are fishermen. In other words, they're used to just facing storm. I mean, their job is on the water, right? Fishing, right? So it must have been really big to the point where Peter and Andrew, the 2 fishermen who become Jesus' disciple, never really seen this kind of storm, and they were panicking too. They were scared. They were panicking to the point where they think they're going to drown, they're going to die, right? This storm is different than the usual one that we faced before. I don't know how many of you have this thought before. Man, I had problem before. I had struggle before, but this one is different. This one is bigger than I ever faced before in my life. Man, this world condition, I mean, we go through some bad time before, but this one is just different, right? Man, this economy recession, this economy crisis, I mean, we went through that before as a nation, but this one is just different, right? Man, the job market, it just feels different. I mean, we went through hard time before, right? Man, so-and-so is so smart. I mean, we never thought that he would get laid off, but he did got laid off. Man, if so-and-so, who is so smart and graduated from American University, if he or she cannot get a job, I mean, what about me? I didn't go to college at all. Man, this is just different, right? I don't know how many of you have experienced that. So the disciples were afraid because they think they're going to die, they're going to drown, right? So what they did is they wake up Jesus. When Jesus woke up, says the next verse, when Jesus woke up, he rebuked the wind and said to the wave, silence, be still. And suddenly, the wind stopped. And Mark wrote, there was a great calm. Wow. I mean, Jesus woke up and then he commanded the storm to be silent and to be still. And it's not only stopped, but Mark described it that there was a great calm. Now, here's the most important takeaway from today's message. I want you to write it down. You ready? Do not wake up a man when he's sleeping. Come on, somebody, right? And all the men says, right? I mean, I'm thinking that Jesus probably upset. I mean, can a man get some sleep here? What is with the noise and the commotion, right? I'm trying to sleep here, and he wake up and he just like silent, be still, and everything. Now I know some of you guys who have little babies. You wish that you can be like Jesus, right? Yeah, right? Your kid's crying in the middle of the night, right? And you just go like, be still and silence. And it becomes silence in the middle of the night. Okay. But in all seriousness, Jesus rebuked the storm and the storm obeyed. Jesus told the storm to be quiet and the storm obeyed. And he turned to his disciple and he asked them, why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith? And the disciples were absolutely terrified. Who is this man, says the disciple. They ask each other. Even the wind and wave obey him. I love this. The King James Version says that they feared exceedingly. In other words, they were so scared, right? They were so afraid to the point where they think they're going to die when the storm comes. They think they're going to drown. But after Jesus tells the storm to be still and to be silent, they got even more scared. Because they're asking, who is this man? Even the storm obey. They were scared to see the storm. But after Jesus told the storm to be quiet, they got even more scared to Jesus because they said, "Who is this man?" Now, a couple things before we finish here. I wonder how much different our life will look in 2023. If we shift our focus, our time, and our energy, instead of focusing on the things that make us fearful, instead of focusing on that negative news and all of that bad prediction about 2023, that we will shift our time and our energy and our focus to the one who have a full control of 2023. I wonder what your life and my life will look like if we decided to trust in the God who created the natural laws. Since he created the natural laws, then he can choose to supersede or to overrule the natural laws. That's why Jesus makes someone walk on the water. He raised someone from the dead. A virgin can get pregnant. That's why he can tell the nature what to do, because he has the authority since he is the creator of the natural laws. I wonder what our life will look like this year if you just focus on the one who created of everything. I wonder the reason why God sometimes put us in frightful circumstances so that you and me will learn to fear him more than we fear our circumstances. I wonder if the reason why God put us in these frightful circumstances is so that you will trust him and you will trust his words more above all else. So Jesus' question to the disciples is, why are you afraid? Do you still have no faith? Jesus didn't ask them, hey, how come you don't know how to work this out, right? How come you don't know how to maneuver the storm? How come you guys cannot work together and just, handle this, right? Hey, Peter, Andrew, you guys were a fisherman, right? How come you don't know how to handle the storm? How come you don't have the skill and the knowledge to handle the storm? Jesus never asked those questions. What Jesus asked is this: why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith? Do you know why this is very important? Because our fear is connected to our faith. Our fear is connected to our faith, where the area that we are afraid of, what we are afraid of, is connected to where we put our faith in. Our fear is always connected to our faith. What we are afraid of show where we place our faith in. So let me close with this. As I said in the beginning, you might sound simplistic, Sam. Really, Sam, if you want to have 2023 to be the best year, this is what you got to do. Have your faith in God. But what does that mean, have faith in God? Hopefully, by giving you this picture, you will understand it better, right? Faith is something like this stool, like this chair, right? When you put your whole weight, when you put your whole world on it, you trust that this thing will hold. That's what faith is. Now, the question is for you to think about: where or who or what do you put your faith in? And another question that you should ask is this: if I put my faith in that, can that thing hold my world? Can that thing hold my whole life? Right? When the wind comes, when the storm comes, when the challenges of life come, is this thing gonna fall? Is this thing gonna break? Is this thing gonna be strong enough to hold me? So that's something that you and me have to think about. See, some of us, we put our faith in ourselves, right? We think that we are knowledgeable enough. We think that we are smart enough. We think that we are strong enough. We think that we have the solution to all of the problem that we will face in this world, right? Some of us, we put our faith in our career, in our money, right? We think that those things will gonna hold our life. We think that those things are gonna bring security to our life. See, some of us, we put our faith in our spouse, in our wife, in our husband, in our girlfriend, in our boyfriend, in our family. We think that they are the one that's gonna fulfill us. They are the one that's gonna give us purpose in our life. They are the one that's gonna make us, find meaning in life. Do you know why you and me started to get worried? Do you know why we started to get worried, especially when we read all kind of bad prediction of what's gonna happen in our world? We started to worry because we started to realize that whatever that we put our hope in, whatever that we put our faith in, I don't think it's going to hold. This is why when you hear a bad news about the economy, we become so worried because maybe we thought that we can put our faith in the economy. This is why some of you started to get worried when so-and-so got elected to become the president, because we think, because you and me, we put our faith in that person. Right? So here's another question. Or not another question, but the question that I want to remind you. Who do you put your faith in? Who do you think that can be strong enough, that can be reliable enough, who can hold you, hold your world, hold the whole of you, right? Who can you trust to face the wind, the storm of this world, the challenges of this world? And can you trust that to hold you? You sure that thing is not gonna fall apart? So that's something that I really, really want you to think about. This year is gonna be your best year if you learn to have faith in God. Because He can be trusted. He can hold you when the storm of life comes. He can be trusted when the challenges of life come. And in the middle of the chaos, the peace of God will be in you. You know why you have peace? Because again, you know that when you put your faith in Him, He can be trusted. He can carry you, and He can hold you in the middle of the storm. I want to skip all the way to the last verse, and I want to invite the worship team to come up. Actually, if you don't mind, I want to read the Psalm 3, verse 5, Vince. Psalm 3, verse 5. This is the psalm that was written by David. David was when he was writing this, he was on the run. You know why he was on the run? because his own son wanted to kill him. Now, you know your life is pretty bad when your own son wants to kill you, right? All kind of things happen. And you can read the rest of Psalm 3 at home. But Psalm 3, this was the prayer of David to God in the middle of, this chaos, in the middle of this storm in his life. But verse 5, he says this, I lay down and slept, yet I woke up in safety, for the Lord was watching over me. In the middle of the storm, in the middle of chaos, David was able to sleep. He was able to lay down because he know that he is under God's protection. And I pray the same thing happen to you as well. I mean, we don't live in denial. I mean, it's true, recession happened, right? We as a Christian, we're not living in denial. When there's a recession, we said there's no recession. When there's all kind of war and political, stuff happening, we don't say, oh, that's not happening. No, we don't live in denial. But in the midst of all of that, you'll be able to have peace. In the midst of all of that, you'll be able to lay down and to sleep. So I pray, as you put your faith in God in 2023, His peace will live in you, will dwell in you. The peace from God will stay with you. And you have no idea what you can do in your life when you have peace, when your head is clear. You'll be able to think all kind of amazing things. You'll be able to provide solution to the problem because you don't live in fear, because you have peace. There's a promise that you and me miss in this story. I want to make sure I point it out. When we read the story about Jesus and his disciple on the boat, the promise is in the beginning of that story. I'll read it to you again. As evening came, Jesus said to his disciple, let's cross to the other side of the lake. Jesus told his disciple that we're going to go to the other side. In other words, if Jesus say, I'm going to take you to the other side, he will take you there. Amen, somebody? If Jesus says, I promise you, I will take you there, he will get you there. If for Jesus say, I'll take you to the other side, he will get you to the destination. There might be storm along the way. There might be challenges, but Jesus said, I will get you there. I, Jesus, who started something in you, will carry you through and will take you to the finish line. The sky and the earth will one day be gone, but Jesus said, my words will last forever.